Welcome, Sheriff, to
Thank
the
you,
show.
Dennis. I never thought I'd be interrogated by a lawyer, but this is...
Not on the radio, anyway.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a real pleasure. We're honored to have you. And we've got an hour to talk to the Sheriff about his background, his life, some of the things that are going on at the county today that we all hear about. Our number here is 602-277 KFNX. That's 5369 if you want to talk to the Sheriff. Sheriff, let's get into it. I want to talk to you first a little bit about your background because, believe it or not, we've looked at your books and read some of your books, and we want to talk about how you got into this business in the first place. You've had an interesting life. So let's talk about how you became a peace officer in the first place from Springfield, Massachusetts.
Well, my mother and father came here from Italy, legally, of course.
Right.
And my mother died when I was born, so I bounced around from one Italian family to another. And they tell me as I was growing up, I always wanted to be an FBI agent. I did go join the Army when the Korean War broke out.
And you're an MP, right?
Well, in the reserves later on, I was with the warrant officer, CID, but instead of sending me to Korea, they sent me to Metz, France, which is pretty dangerous, 18 years old.
Yeah.
But I did do some investigative work against the prostitutes, and then I left. I did my 3 years discharge, and joined the Washington D.C. Police Department for 4 years. Went to the Las Vegas Police Department long enough to lock up Elvis Presley.
Right. I heard that you locked him up for speeding once. Is that right?
Well, he was going about 100 miles an hour with a beautiful blonde on the back. Of course, I was...
And a Cadillac, of course.
No, that was a motorcycle.
Oh.
Took him down to the Las Vegas, our police station, and he talked me out of giving him a ticket, said something went wrong with a motorcycle. So we brought him next door to have his motorcycle fixed, and I guess he really appreciated it, so he gave 12 Cadillacs
Did he really?
to narcotic detectives in Colorado, and so on. Never gave me one. I probably would not have taken it.
No kidding.
But the irony of it, right after that, I went to Chicago, and I joined the DEA. It was called the Bureau of Narcotics.
Right.
I was 25 years old, and President Nixon said, you're going to give Presley a honorary federal narcotic agent badge,
Right.
Which we did.
Oh, is that the badge with the famous picture of the president?
Yeah, and then, of course, he died of an overdose. That's a side issue.
Yes, side issue.
I was lucky enough to become a federal agent in Chicago and did a lot of undercover work, which I like doing.
Yeah.
And because of that, they sent me to Istanbul, Turkey. I was the only federal agent in the whole Middle East to dry up the French Connection, lock up all the opium sellers.
I want to talk to you about that for a minute. My understanding is that you were at what would be called sort of the beginning of that whole process, right? When you were in Turkey, where I guess they start the process. And then later on, as I understand it, you went to Paraguay. Is that right?
Well,
where it ended, sort of.
Yeah, that was the French Connection. The drugs, the morphine base or opium, smuggled into Marseille, France, where they secretly made the heroin.
Which is a famous movie that we've all
French,
seen.
Yeah. But that was in the New York end. I'm talking about where the source is.
Right.
And the mafia, I hate to use that word, but since the present Attorney General now used the word mafia, it was banned for years and years. So I'm going to use it. The mafia controlled the heroin traffic. That was called the French Connection, in operation for 60 years until President Nixon said, enough is enough. We're going to stop it internationally and in the United States, and it was stopped. Right. But 10 years later, I became the regional director in Mexico and had offices in Panama and Argentina. But the dope peddlers from France were moving to South America. That's why I opened an office in Argentina,
right.
Because it was too hot. So that was the tail end where we arrested Record and had him.
Was he the guy that was the German? There's one guy that was like a German officer or something who left a lot of money from the war.
No, that's not. This is Armand Record, who was one of the big shots.
Was he French?
Yeah. He moved to Argentina. Of course, the Attorney General at that time was Dick Kleindienst, and a very good friend, and active in the drug enforcement. But the ambassador
from Arizona,
ambassador of Paraguay did not like me going to his country or removing this guy, but I called Washington and we had this guy removed on 707, brought back to Dallas to stand trial.
As I remember it, what, 90% of the heroin coming into this country was brought in through this process with these folks?
Yeah, 90%. The other 10% was Mexico. Of course, now it's the Golden Triangle. You know, things do shift in the Far East. But that was a very interesting operation for almost 60 years, controlled by the Italian mob and the Sicily, and the French.
Right.
But once again, I have to give credit to President Nixon for saying we're going to make this a top priority, and we cleaned it up in 1969. G. Gordon Liddy and I, remember G. Gordon with his own show, we ran an operation at the border intercept because the president said we're going to close the Mexican border, enough is enough, for 2 weeks. We didn't actually close the border, we just searched every car.
Yeah.
Backed up traffic to Mexico City. They hated us, the Mexican government. Just by chance, I became the regional director. It was very sensitive. I had agents working undercover. In those days, we were operational. And it was tough to get so I had the Mexican Attorney General at my house a few times, like blueberry pie. So my wife just kicked out blueberry pie, a little shot of whiskey. And I got more done with blueberry pie and whiskey than a big American stick.
Hard to do that today, right?
I don't think it is.
Well, maybe you should serve some blueberry pie to the county board, huh?
Well, the president invites people to the White House. He invited the sergeant at Cambridge, Mass. for arresting the black professor, and the president sort of stuck his nose in it. So he invited both of them to the White House to have a little beer with the
Have you been invited to the White House to talk about these immigration issues?
No, I have not.
Why not?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, this is a good question. By the way, we're talking with Sheriff Arpaio, Maricopa County Sheriff, on KFNX, 277 KFNX. So, were you ever invited to the White House to talk about the issues here in Arizona, the immigration issues?
Not since I've been the sheriff. And that's a good question.
It is a good question.
I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah.
Why is it that, forget the White House, where's all the other politicians? No one asked me my opinion. You do know I spent 4 years in Mexico City. I covered the border from that side.
Right.
I was head of the federal drug enforcement in Texas. On another assignment, I covered the whole Texas border. I was head of the DA in Arizona on another assignment. So I have 14 years experience as a top federal official at the border.
And nobody's ever asked your opinion.
So that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is interesting. Nobody's called you back for any hearings, nothing like that.
Well, the head of the Judiciary Committee that went after me, thanks to the Phoenix mayor, had his hearings, blasting me and asking the Attorney General, Homeland Security Secretary, to investigate me for alleged racial profile. But where's all the senators? Where's all the congressmen? Well, we have some here that lives in Arizona.
Well, I saw that Paul Babu was speaking to the Senate. I guess probably invited by Senator McCain, I would suspect.
Yeah, well.
But I didn't see you there.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't have to go to Washington, and you wonder why.
I was just curious. That's all.
Yeah. Well, they're investigating me.
Yeah.
The justice.
Well, they've been investigating you forever, so.
Well,
I think they'll be investigating you when we're all gone.
When I'm dead too.
Yeah. Probably. Anyway, we're going to talk to you, Sheriff Arpaio, about your thoughts on a lot of different issues when we come back after this break that's coming up. We're going to hear from some sponsors. We're going to talk to you about the jails, the border, and sentencing issues, and some of the hot things that are going on now. I understand there's an arrest today, for example. Is that right? Big arrest today you made?
Well, I don't know. We locked up 6 more people working in the laundry. 6 out of 7 were here illegally with phony identification, which I take very serious.
Right. Yeah, I saw that in the paper today. And we're going to talk to you also about some of these issues that are confronting all of us about the immigration laws and SB 1070. When we come back from this break, we'll be talking with Sheriff Arpaio.